Hello and a huge warm welcome to our show this week. We are always excited when we start our show. Beforehand, when we're having a little chat.
We are indeed.
And as always, we've got a great show for you coming up. We have got, our topic is all about recovering from people pleasing. And our question this week is, will I always be second best? But before we dive into the show today, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about Relationship School. Just in case you're not in Relationship School and for some reason you've been living under a rock and don't know that we're starting our second run at Relationship School live at the beginning of September. I just wanted to tell you now because we are really excited. The first run went incredibly well. We had some brilliant feedback and it was just an amazing 8 weeks. And we're doing it all again and we're putting out some special offers there at the moment. So if you are not on our mailing list or you don't know anything about it, feel free to get in touch or join our mailing list because we would absolutely love you to be in Relationship School with us.
Yes, we certainly would. We were having a beautiful conversation about just that last night. And just really, I know for both of us as we talk about it, we're very, very proud of Relationship School and it's an amazing programme to be a part of. So it's well worth finding out a bit more. And like Deb said, join the mailing list because there are some special offers that will be coming out between now and when we start. But if you're not quite ready for Relationship School, that's okay, that's perfectly fine. But there's a really, really good programme that's on our website, a 30-day self-love course. That's a self-study programme that you can just buy. And once you've bought it, it's totally yours. You get access to all of the content for the rest of time. And it's actually a really beautiful introduction and starter to Relationship School. If you know you're interested in this conversation, but you're not quite ready to dive in deeply with us, have a look at that. That's on our website, dareToBeYou.co.uk. And there's some amazing stuff over those 30 days. It's well worth a look. So.
Yeah, we've been in with that. You get a free call with us, and we've been having some of the calls with the people that have already been doing that program. And yeah, we've had some amazing feedback from that as well. The people are really enjoying it. So yeah, do dive into that if that's what you would prefer to do. So let's get on with today's show and our question, will I always be second best? I know for a very, very long time for me, when I was in my relationship, what was going on for me was I had a lot of I'm not good enough thinking. That thought came up in many, many different disguises. And that's the thing with thought, isn't it? If you've not been around us much before, and this is the first time that you've heard us speaking about this, what we point to is the fact that human beings are thinking creatures and we have thoughts, and those thoughts create the reality that we live in. We feel thought as it passes through. If we're having nice bubbly thinking, we feel nice and bubbly and happy. If we're having sad thinking, we feel sad. And when we are having thoughts that are telling us we are not good enough, no matter what is going on out in the world, we will have an experience of not being good enough. And I know for me, that was the place that I was stuck in. So it really, really looked to me that being in a relationship was really, really hard work, and trying to stay upmost in someone else's mind. It felt like, you know, in those times when I felt like that, I had a lot of hard work to try and make someone else like me, to make me be the top thing that person was talking about, for them to put me first and for them to care about me. And what I really, really saw deeply when I came across this understanding was that actually works the other way around. If I start to care about me, if I start to put me first, then automatically it seems that other people do the same thing. And actually, if they don't, I don't mind, because of the fact that we live in the feeling of what we think. If I love me enough, if I know enough about me, then I don't need somebody else to be doing that.
Yeah, and that was kind of the first thing that was coming to me as I read the question. It was something that someone's actually asked us in the last couple of weeks, and they kind of gave an example of a scenario, and then kind of said, do I need to ask someone if I'm always going to be second best for them? And it really, the first thing that really hit me, because we talk in this conversation and what we share so much about starting with yourself, hence, you know, the 30 days self-love and relationship school is all about starting with yourself. Healthy, happy relationships always begin with you first. And when I kind of read that question, what came to me was, are you putting yourself second best? Because that ultimately, we get the experience that's going on internally for us. We get that externally. And so if that's kind of what's happening with you, if you're feeling second best, ultimately and first and foremost, that's coming from within. And that's never about a blame thing, and it's never about kind of, you know, beating yourself up for that, but just being kind and honest with yourself and seeing the place where, you know, and I say this because I've been there.
Me too.
It's not a, you know, I have treated myself second best, or not even, you know, not even that high, third, fourth, fifth best, you know.
Rubbish, bottom of the pile.
Yeah, totally. And it's about beginning to see the places where you do that to yourself first. Because ultimately, if you're asking someone to treat you first and treat you like the best, you're asking them to do something you're not even doing yourself.
Yeah.
And that is what we don't notice is happening. It can happen so discreetly and so kind of, it just slips into the radar. You know, just notice one of the conversations I've heard Lucy having recently is how much negative self-talk goes on in her mind. And it's surprising to me, as she pointed that out, I thought, yeah, I can see the places where that's true for me. How much my mind kind of does this, well, your hair doesn't look quite right, and what if you've answered the question slightly wrong, or, you know, and those kinds of things that just chip away a little bit at us. And this question to me really invites me to look again and go, where am I treating myself like second best? And how can I expect somebody else to treat me best if I'm not capable of doing that for me first?
Yeah, and it's very, very easy to get into a loop when we're in that place of, we try and treat that person well in the hope that they will treat us well. And again, this is one of those things that it works the other way. And this is not about not treating other people well. I would always advocate that we treat everybody the way we would like to be treated. But when we are treating someone else well with an expectation because we want to get something back, and I think that is something that it can be very difficult sometimes to be honest with ourselves about that. I know I struggled with being honest. I wanted to be a nice person, and I thought nice people treat other people well, and that makes other people treat me well, so then I'll feel good. And that is one of those fundamental misunderstandings. If we are treating someone else well in the hope that they will treat us well so that we feel good, life simply doesn't work that way. And if you've been doing that, I am sure you will have noticed how hard that is and how you don't feel great. And all you feel is resentful of the other person because they are not fulfilling their part of the bargain. It feels like you don't feel great. It feels like you are always second best, because life works the opposite way to the way that it appears, to the way that it looks. And that is the crux of one of the things that we teach, to get curious about, what if it is the other way around? And I know we have talked before about this pendulum swing, that we can go from one side to the other, and we can go from this place of not treating ourselves well and then going to the exact opposite extreme and thinking, I'm going to put myself first and screw everybody else in the world. And we're not really talking about that either. If you've been around us any length of time at all, you will know that we talk about a place of balance in the middle of those two things. Because it feels like when we are struggling or suffering, we're one side of this continuum, and whichever side it is, we will struggle and suffer if we go to a place of screw everyone else, screw the world, I'm going to put myself first, I'm okay. If that's how we are, we're just the other side of this, this misunderstanding, if you like. But if we come to a place of balance in the middle, where we see that treating ourselves well and feeling and finding we haven't even got a void inside. Because I know for me, when I had those feelings of not being good enough, that was coming from some thinking that I was having that appeared to be real and true to me. But when I looked at that thinking and actually asked that question, am I good enough? I actually saw that I was. And then that void in me was filled, and I didn't need someone else to put me first so that I could feel good.
That was what was occurring to me when you were kind of saying it, like we treat another person well so that they treat us well so that we feel good.
Yeah.
I was like, the key there is us feeling good.
Yeah.
And what this conversation invites us to see is that's built in. Absolutely. We feel good when we start to understand how we truly work, when we see that comes from within, that feeling is already ours. Like I don't know about you, but I can close my eyes and think of something wonderful and feel good like that. And that's coming from within me.
Yeah.
Just like too. That, I can make up any scenario in my head and feel good.
I didn't know that we could do that as human beings.
Or I sort of knew, but didn't know that it worked all the way through. It's like, I can see it can work here, but I didn't know that was just an all the way down thing. And to me, it's just exploring that and starting to see that feel good factor, that, happiness, that peace, that love, that joy, that comes from within you. Anytime you have ever felt those feelings, it doesn't matter. We tend to hook those on. I felt it because he smiled at me, or I felt it because someone praised me, or
the sun shining.
Yeah.
And we had a day off work.
We hook it to those things, don't we? But actually, if you stop and took those things away, that feeling is totally available to you anyway.
All the time, always. That's yours.
Totally. And the more that we explore that and start to see that that's available anyway, the less that we are inclined to do something nice for someone so that we feel good because they'll be nice back to us. We get out of that loop. And actually what we find is that from that good and happy feeling, we just do nice things for people because it makes sense.
Yeah, totally.
And whether they reciprocate or don't, because our feeling is ours and we own it, it doesn't matter. We can give and share and be kind and compassionate, be good to somebody else, when we know that feeling exists in us without the need for something to come back. And it's absolutely incredible what comes from living from that space.
Totally.
And that, to me, is putting yourself first.
That is how we truly do it.
Yeah. And then you notice that you don't need somebody else to put you first. When you're putting yourself first in that way, not in the, I don't care, screw you way, but in the genuine knowing where your feelings are coming from, when you put yourself first from there, you're actually putting the whole world first anyway.
Totally.
And you don't need somebody else to then put you first.
And from there, your relationships, if they're genuinely not healthy relationships, they tend to fall away. And you're okay with that. And if they are, even if they're not healthy, they can become healthy from that place. I've watched relationships transform from that place. So it's a win-win no matter what happens if you can fall into that place. So our invitation, as it always is to just get curious with that and don't take our word for it. Have a look and see if there's any places where you can see that for yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Put yourself first.
Yeah, do that. And so if we move on to our topic this week, and as always, our topic is a little bit connected to that. So this is a recovering people pleaser. So for me, I can honestly say that I could wear the crown for being a people pleaser. Got the T-shirt, got the crown, got the certificate.
Gold medal,
the
Olympics.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're in good company, as you're saying.
The queen of people pleasers. And very much when we talked a few minutes ago about putting ourselves first, or being second best all the time, what I can see that my people pleasing came from a place of not feeling good enough, feeling like there was something missing in me. And if you liked me, or people liked me in general, that would make me feel better. But what I started to notice was that however many people liked me, it wasn't enough. If you liked me, that might be okay for a minute, but then I would need someone else to like me, and that might be okay for a minute, and then there would be someone else and someone else. And I remember not long ago watching a documentary on Netflix, and I think it was Taylor Swift, I think. And she was talking about her life experiences, and she had this belief, from a small child, she'd wanted to be into her music and a singer. And she had this idea that when she succeeded, when she was successful, she would feel good. And she shared that she'd never really been confident and never felt she was good enough all through her childhood. But she just held this belief that at some point, when she was famous enough, she would feel good. And it really hit her one day. I can't remember what the stadium is. I'm not very good at this, but she was at some stadium. I mean, for me, it would be like, say she was at, I know it wasn't Wembley because she's not English, is she? But the equivalent to Wembley Stadium that was absolutely packed to the rafters, not one inch of spare space. And all of these people were cheering her and were loving her. And she still didn't feel good enough. And it really hit her then that can't be how this works. And that's exactly the same thing that I'm saying. And I know you've had the same experience, that no matter what, whoever it is, the perfect partner, your children, we just keep a new handbag, a new house, a new car, a new computer, a new table, and we just keep needing more stuff or more people to like us or more things so that we feel good. And from that place, that's what starts the people pleasing in us.
Yeah, it's like an emotional black hole, isn't it?
Oh,
it's just
totally.
It's insatiable.
It eats and eats and eats.
Yeah, when we think that the relationships and stuff from the outside is going to make us feel better, nothing you do is going to fill that void. But what this conversation shows us is that that's just a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
In exactly the same way, if you were driving your car and you didn't know what the traffic lights meant and you thought red was go and green was stop, that's a simple misunderstanding. And you're going to get yourself into all sorts of mess until somebody puts that understanding right for you. There's going to be all sorts go on. And there might be times when you get away with it because there's no other traffic on the road and it doesn't matter that you've gone through a red light because nothing else is there. But equally, there's going to be times when that causes havoc if you've misunderstood what those lights are telling you. And that's the same with people pleasing. It's a misunderstanding of what our feeling system, what our alarm system is telling us. We get these feelings to tell us that we're out of balance, that we've moved away from the truth of who we are. And we simply misunderstand and think that feeling is saying they need to love me more, or I need to buy that, or I need a bigger house, or fill in your own blank here. We take that feeling to mean something that it just does not mean. And that's where sometimes we kind of get away with it, like if the road's empty, you kind of don't notice and it's fine. And then other times there's absolute mayhem, because you've misunderstood what that feeling is pointing to. And we just go out desperately clawing to get something to make us feel good, to make us feel loved. And it's seeing that that's not where it comes from.
It just doesn't work that way.
No. And just beginning to explore, like we were saying in answer to the question, where that feeling comes from in us, that we can feel love and peace and connection and happiness from within. And those things that we think we need from the outside, when we've connected to that feeling within, we either have those things or we don't, and either is fine, because we start to see that we are whole and complete. And that was always the key for me. I did not know you hear, like, I think you were saying on something, we recorded something yesterday, and Deb was saying she'd heard a song on the radio.
Yes, yeah, that really, it really shocked me, actually.
Like, and so many pop songs kind of point to this, you'll be whole and complete when the love of your life turns up, and films are always about finding the one, and, all of that kind of stuff that just gives us the idea we are not complete until we have whatever it is that we tell ourselves we're missing.
And society can really point to that. If we're single or something like that, it can really feel as if, a few times I've heard different people over the last few weeks even talking about not being in a relationship and feeling like I wanted to be in a relationship because I just wanted to be normal. And it's like, in our society, it's pointed to that we are normal if we are in a loving relationship. And if we're not, there's something wrong with us. We're not complete. We're not whole. And one of the biggest things that really changed things for me and has really helped me with the absolute a really, really bad addiction to people pleasing. The thing that changed that for me was a realization that I am already whole and complete. And that is definitely one of the things that this conversation, and certainly everything Bec and I do, is an invitation for you to get curious and see if there's a possibility that that is true for you. And it is just noticing that when we have this idea, and I'm pretty sure you will have had this experience, because most people I know have this experience of really wanting something and really having this idea that if I have that, I will be happy. And whether that is a person in our life, whether that is a baby, whether it is a new handbag, whatever it is, we can have this really, really strong desire that if I had that, then I would be happy. And it's almost like we bargain with the universe because we want it so much. And we say things like, well, it's certainly about things like relationships and having children and those things. We say, well, it's a natural thing that's in me. It's not, I haven't got any control over that. It's not to do with my thinking. That's to do with my hormones, or that's to do with how life works. We've got this pull to be with someone else so that we can continue the species, all things like that. We put it onto something, and we say that there's nothing we can do about that, and it's normal and it's natural. But it's an addiction just as much as alcohol or drugs are an addiction. And as we begin to see a deeper truth about ourselves, we can still have that thinking. I mean, I can definitely still have the thoughts sometimes. I would like that in my life. I want that. But what I have seen since I've seen through the people pleasing, and since I have had my own experiences and actually really truly seen that I'm already whole and complete, and had my own experiences of feeling the love within me, then if I want something, I can want it just because I want it. And if I end up getting it, great. If I don't end up getting it, great. It's a whole different experience.
Yeah. And that ultimately, like people pleasing, that comes from not knowing that Deb's just said, that we can have a different experience of that. Kind of beyond, we often say that beyond our biggest fear is our biggest freedom. And often in people pleasing, our biggest fear is that we are not whole and complete, that we are not love and peace and happiness. And beyond that fear, when we're brave enough to just take the first step, just start to look at what we are pointing to here. And beyond that, you'll start to see that freedom comes, as Deb was just saying, from knowing that whatever it is, whether it is people pleasing and that person must like me or love me, or whether it's, more material type stuff that we're craving, when we get beyond that fear and start to see our wholeness and completeness, that's where our freedom lies. Absolutely. Because to live from that very space of knowing, it's great fun to kind of think, oh, it'd be lovely to have a partner that does this or is that. It would be great fun to have a bigger house or a nicer car. And then knowing that it's perfectly okay if those things don't happen. That's freedom.
It's a totally, totally different space to live from. It is living from love rather than living from fear.
Yeah, totally.
So I hope you enjoyed that today. And obviously, if that has brought anything up for you, please feel free to comment on this video. Please feel free to be in touch with us. We have loads and loads of ways that you can work with us and dive more deeply into this conversation. And at the beginning of this show, we talked about Relationship School and the 30 days of self-love. They are 2 ways that we work with people, and we do have other ways too. We do one-to-one stuff. So please, if anything's coming up for you at all, feel free to be in touch. And next week, we've got another great show for you. And our topic is the secret of love. We actually
stole that.
We did. We shamelessly stole it. So we will plug this book. It is by Laurie Carpenos and Christine Heath, The Secret of Love. It's an amazing book.
As you can tell from all the
post-it
notes.
we absolutely love this book. So we stole that topic from that book. And our question is, can you care too much? Because I know we've had some conversations with people and they've asked us if they feel like, I care so much that it hurts. I care so much that it tears me apart. So we're going to be exploring that next week.
Yes. So we can't wait to see you again next week.
Thank you very much.
Have a great week.
See you somewhere soon. Bye.